Today, we're talking about something incredibly serious: the fatal 5 minutes in confined spaces. This is a situation where every single second counts, and, one wrong move can literally be your last.
Just think about that for a second. Imagine you're just ducking into a tank for a quick 5-minute job, something you've maybe done a dozen times before, and you just don't come back out. It's a terrifying thought, but for so many workers, especially in oil and gas, this is a very real, everyday risk.
And look, this isn't some hypothetical number I'm throwing at you. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's how many workers were killed in confined spaces in the US just between 2011 and 2018. It's a staggering loss of life. And here's the part that should really get to you. It's almost entirely preventable.
So, let's dive right in. Our mission here isn't to just list off a bunch of boring rules. No, we are going to expose the fatal mistakes people make, so we can really understand why these procedures are so critical. This is about saving lives, period. Preventing a tragedy always starts with recognizing the hazard in the first place. You can't avoid a trap if you don't even know you're walking into one. And listen, not every small space is a confined space in the eyes of safety regulators. Knowing the difference is absolutely key to staying safe. Okay, so what is a confined space officially? Well, according to OSHA, that's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the definition has 3 key parts. First, it has to be large enough for you to actually get your body inside and do work. Second, it's got to have a limited way in or out. And third, it's just not designed for someone to be in there all day. So think of places like storage tanks, silos, pits, manholes, you get the idea.
Now here's where it gets really, really important. There's a huge difference between a regular confined space and what's called a permit-required confined space. A space gets that permit-required label when it meets those first 3 criteria, plus it contains at least one serious life-threatening hazard. We're talking about a toxic atmosphere, or maybe a substance like sand or grain that could literally swallow you whole, or even just a weird internal shape that could trap you. The second you have one of those, the safety game changes completely.
To really understand the danger here, we have to look at how these tragedies actually unfold. It's usually not just one single thing that goes wrong. It's often a terrible chain reaction, one that's fueled by human instinct and a simple lack of preparation.
This quote, this is from a Chemical Safety Board report on a real incident at a Valero refinery. It's just chilling. What happened was a worker collapsed inside a reactor. It was filled with nitrogen, an invisible, odorless gas that pushes all the oxygen out of the air. Seeing his coworker go down, the foreman didn't hesitate for a second. He grabbed the ladder, rushed in to help, and died right there beside him.
And what's truly devastating, what's absolutely heartbreaking, is that this story is not unique. A staggering 60%, let me say that again, 60% of all people who die in confined spaces are the would-be rescuers. People who died trying to save someone else.
So why does this happen? Well, it's something called the hero impulse. It's that deep, gut reaction to help someone, especially a friend or a colleague. And in those high-stress, life-or-death moments, that impulse can completely wipe out years of safety training in the blink of an eye. It's how one victim tragically becomes 2, or 3, or even more.
And this is a perfect illustration of why you can never trust your senses. Take hydrogen sulfide, or H2S, a super common gas in oil and gas. At low levels, yeah, you smell that rotten egg smell. But here's the deadly trick. As the concentration gets higher and becomes lethal, it actually paralyzes your sense of smell. So the warning signal, the smell, vanishes, giving you this false sense of security right before it knocks you out. It is a perfect, insidious trap.
And if you need more proof, just look at this data for deaths inside tanks. The overwhelming killer isn't falling, and it's not something obvious like a trench collapse. Nope, it's the invisible dangers, being engulfed in a substance or, far more often, just breathing the air. This is all the proof you need that what you can't see, what you can't smell, can absolutely kill you.
Okay, so we've seen how these horrible events happen. Now let's get specific and break down the failures that cause them. Let's talk about the 5 fatal errors.
1. Skipping the gas testing? That's just walking in blind. 2. No entry permit? You're ignoring the final safety confirmation. 3. No attendant? You've got no lifeline and no one to call a trained rescue team. 4. Forgetting lockout tagout? That's like working inside a giant blender that could switch on at any second. And 5. No rescue plan? That leads directly to that deadly hero impulse. Every single one of these errors removes a critical layer of protection. So how do we stop these fatal errors? The good news is the solutions are clear, they're proven, and they're mandated by law under the OSHA standard. These aren't just suggestions, folks. They are absolute lifesavers.
Lifesaver number 1 is completely non-negotiable. You test the atmosphere. And not just once before you go in. You monitor it continuously because the air in that space can change in a heartbeat. And the order you test in is critical. First for oxygen, then for flammable gases, and finally for any toxics.
Lifesaver number 2, the permit. And let's be clear, this is not just a piece of paper. It is a contract. It's a formal checklist. A signed permit posted right at the entrance is the final word from a supervisor that says, yes, we have identified, isolated, and controlled every known hazard. This space is safe to enter right now.
Lifesaver number 3 is the trained attendant. This person has one, and only one, job: to be the eyes, ears, and lifeline on the outside. They stay in constant communication with the worker inside, and if something goes wrong, their job is not to go in. It's to start the rescue plan and call for help. They are the disciplined, professional barrier against that deadly hero impulse. Lifesaver 4, lockout/tagout. This means you are physically building a fortress around that space. You're isolating it from every possible energy source. Valves get locked closed, pipes get blanked off, electrical circuits are shut down and locked out. It's your guarantee that nothing can flow in, and no equipment can start up while your person is inside.
And finally, lifesaver number 5, a rescue plan. And not just some idea you talk about. I mean a real, practiced plan with trained people and the right equipment on standby before the job even begins. The goal is always non-entry rescue if possible. This preparation is the only thing that stops panic and instinct from taking over in an emergency.
So, we've gone through the hazards, the fatal mistakes, and the procedures that save lives. Now let's boil it all down into one simple, final checklist you can use every single time.
Before anyone ever breaks the plane, before you even stick a hand inside that opening, just stop and ask these 5 questions. 1. Has the air been tested and is it being monitored? 2. Is there a signed permit? 3. Is the ventilation running? 4. Is a trained attendant in place? And 5. Is the rescue plan ready to go? If the answer to even one of those is no, the job stops. It is that simple.
Because that's the bottom line here. These deaths are not unavoidable accidents. Confined space fatalities are preventable. They are prevented by discipline, by following procedure, and by respecting the fact that a few extra minutes of preparation can mean the difference between going home to your family or becoming a statistic.
So I'm going to leave you with this one question to really think about. Knowing everything we've just talked about, knowing about the hero impulse, what is your first trained action if you see a coworker collapse? The answer is not to rush in. The answer is to stop, sound the alarm, and activate the plan you already have in place. That is how you save a life, and maybe your own. If you want to protect yourself and others working in confined spaces, subscribe to HSE Study. We create powerful safety education that saves lives.